Yellow, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stream tonight. Tonight I'm joined by some really cool guys. Let me fix the cameras here real quick. And we got Omeka on. We've got
Yes.
Toxic and 404 returning. 404, you want to say anything, dude? I think Toxic's dead. He died.
My camera won't focus.
Dude, I don't know what to
Literally
tell you,
can't
dude.
focus
It's,
the camera. That'd be great.
dude, is that stream
Do you
go?
have a clear vision?
Do you have clear
Because
vision?
4-4 don't.
There we go.
Oh my gosh. Why can't I like? Oh, there we go. I forgot to add the Dudecast logo. What the heck is wrong with me? This is what happens
Oh.
when you reset your computer.
That's a clutch. It's a crucial error.
Dude, we got it. We got
There
it.
we go.
There we go. Bam, dude. Now everybody knows who we are. I gotta center it vertically, or I'm gonna lose, or horizontally, I'm gonna lose my mind. There we go. Solid, dude. Guys, welcome to Dudecast episode 4. Omeka, thank you for joining us tonight. What a patch to have you come in on, man. I mean, we're just gonna get right into it. What a patch! Like, it wasn't planned. Somebody asked me if this was planned earlier. They're like, "So you have Omeka on tonight, and this patch is happening. What did you do? How did you set this up?" Nope, no setup here.
How'd you pull this one
Plan.
off? You didn't tell us.
Yeah, dude, Omeka, dude. What did you do to Helmar to make him make these
These
decisions?
drones and you hold him hostage.
Oh man.
I don't know, man. I said some bunch of things, and I guess I'm just worried they misinterpreted or something, overdo it.
So what you're saying is it is your fault.
I cannot comment.
You
But it's like-
heard it here first, bro. Exclusive.
Look, what's gonna happen next year? Maybe if I run again, I'm gonna open up my document about Eve's problems. I call it genealogy of Eve's problems, and then you'll realize CCP has acted on most of the items there by now. So I'm just leaving it here.
Nice.
How much of it do you think has to do with has to actually do with you, or do you think they were potentially planning that already? I mean, clearly not. Like, you didn't just. Hopefully, you didn't just bring all these problems to them for the first time, and they were like, "Wow, we haven't thought about any of this stuff. Fuck, we need to get to work."
No, absolutely not. It's like I think what I'm doing right now is like it's a bit helpful that I'm on the CSM this term of all years, because the kind of feedback I want to give is like already is the kind of direction CCP wants to take the game. So I'm trying to do my best to guide them so it doesn't fail at the implementational level, because we all can talk about problems, but implementing solutions is the hardest thing to do, and when you don't do it in the right way, then it can mess the game up further. So, and I wouldn't say most of these like side notes and everything, I wouldn't say like it's my effect or anything like that. That would be like being too cocky. It's just I think what happens, one of the things that I helped is I think I articulated our kind of stance, and then went to the community and received great acceptance and nice amount of votes, right? And that also helps shaping their mind. So it's not like I'm not gonna say like I'm the best lobbyist and I just have the best relations with them and then get them do things, but it's more like I put forward the understanding of what Eve should look like, and it was kind of popular, and it made me CSM, and also CCP's a bit influenced by that as well. That's what I would allow myself indulge myself to say. I think about all this CSM business.
Interesting.
So how long do you reckon before CCP goes back on this change?
I don't know, mate. It's depends on how people react and what's gonna happen. And I think one difference is between this and Blackout, for example. One difference is it doesn't really, some line members maybe, but it doesn't overly punish most of the line members. They can go back to most line members do cruiser ratting and battleship ratting and or a few barges or one Rorqual, which can get away with these changes. But people with 10 Rorquals, I think their days are going to be over soon. And I don't have sympathy because I mean, as much as they provide content, they say to hunters like me, for example, it's just the economic long-term well-being of the game is. It looks like it's more important to CCP. So
Man.
I reckon this change will last 1 month.
Okay, so for those of
People's subs will run out and they won't resub, and then
think they're
CCP
gonna
will see
revert
their
it?
numbers dive again. Dude. Of course, dude. Just think how Blackout happened, dude. They changed that back. 4-4's also gone black and white for some reason.
Fuck me, dude.
it's having a rough night. So somebody asked us in chat to kind of talk a little bit about the change because they haven't been back except recently. So I'm going to ask that we go over the patch notes just a little bit.
So let's talk about the big dick fucking play that CCP did right now. The biggest change that everyone's talking about. Rock Anoms have been nerfed to shit. So before you could get like a Spod Rock in a Colossal. I think it had like 200,000 M3, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even more than that. But now they only have 2,000 M3, which is literally one cycle from like 2 drones, I think, for 2 excavators in Siege.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's not even worth industrial coring on a rock anymore.
So a huge nerf to how minerals are put out into the game in any sort of shape or form, and how they're introduced not just in nullsec, and lowsec and highsec as well. And somebody said that highsec moons earlier. I was talking to Ash, and he actually mentioned that highsec moons are potentially on the table. Have you guys actually heard anything about that? I haven't read anywhere about it.
Isn't it all moons that are being nerfed?
Yeah, so then I don't know if it would matter. So that's kind of besides the point. So
I don't think high-sec moons had that much of the moon goo anyway.
well, they're like more. It's more worth it to mine in a high sec moon than a belt, of course. But I mean, that's the same anywhere you go. The biggest difference though is high sec. You can only mine in 0.5s because it's the only place the moons exist, if I remember correctly.
I don't think that's true.
Did they change it? I know when they first introduced it, I know it was only 0.5s.
The biggest problem with high-sec moons is people can just warp in and steal your rock. Can't do anything about it.
Oh, I mean, get a defense fleet. Nah, I'm just kidding. So, talking about this change. So, as far as the use of Rorks, we're gonna go down the line here and do some predictions. Toxic, are you back? Take that as a no. 404.
Oh, there he is.
There he is, dude.
What's up, dude?
Hey, man. You sticking some food in your mouth, my dude, huh, man?
I am, dude. It's more important. I mean, it's less than what?
We talk about rocks, dude.
Talk about Rorks.
So definitely that's important. Okay.
So I'll let you finish eating some of your food. Fishy, thank you for the follow, dude. 404. What do you think about the future of Rorks? Do you see a lot of Rorks in your future? Do you see fields and fields of Rorks, or?
I don't know. Hopefully less. I guess
Actually, that's
I guess
true.
the question is like how are they just it'll be interesting to see how people figure out how to use them.
Yeah, I wonder how your how are you and your ults gonna do anyway, bud, with your oracles?
404.
Right with this whole change.
I'm gonna have to be a PvP stream from now on.
What?
Yeah. Yeah,
Jim.
that's just
The
it.
change. It's like I said earlier. I think the change that's going to happen is there's going to be one Rock in a belt or an Anon, and it's just going to be surrounded by Exumas, dude.
Yeah. Do you think
And
so?
they're just gonna. The Rock's literally just going to be a links to him, and that's it.
All right, I turned 404 up abrasive. No
What
worries.
it used to be.
You turned me off?
Up.
Oh,
We'll go. All
I
right,
can
so
turn myself up.
down in the next person in line, Olmeca. You kind of stated these opinions, but just to reiterate, in the future, assuming I guess the patch sticks at this point, fields and fields of Rorks, or what do you think the potential use for them is going to be after this?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like we won't see like one Rorqual plus 10 barges either. I would say like a line member will have a Rorqual and maybe 2 barges, or if he bothers to get a Rorqual. If not, maybe it's going to be 3 barges. And the anomaly will belong to him, and much like a Haven or Sanctum, and it's going to be done in 15 minutes. And if it goes like this, people will need a lot of space to mine as they used to. And I mean, it's on the very long term, it feels not so bad, but there's so much mineral stocks and ship stocks right now. Until the value of those minerals get higher, which can take 5 years, most of the people won't find it lucrative or worth to be bothering with, I think. So, but then I mean that goes back to, if most people won't do it, then the value will go up. But there is a lot of stocks, man. There is a lot of, like, I checked. I have a spreadsheet. It's not up to date, but it has the MER stats from May 2017 to June 2019, and about 1,300 trillion worth minerals were farmed in that 2 years period. 1,300 trillion. So you would need, and it's like on average it's like 50 trillion.
Quadrillion. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
50 trillion per month on average in that period. So it's like, to match the destruction with that production, you'd have to get 1,000 supers dead every month instead of 100, which is like, so you'd have to probably you need basically 10 to 15 times more destruction.
That's
So that's
fucking
how much
insane, dude. Holy
that's how much
shit.
we have stocks with. That's how much stocks exist in the game.
Luckily for us, they put the new Nirvana implants on the LP store, so that all the supers can now be super. Oh, wait.
Oh, dude, no. Why'd you have to bring that up, dude?
I mean, on the flip side, it's in NPC Delve, I think, so we can just. Oh, the amulets are in NPC Delve, right? Or
it's on the Ascension LP store, I think.
Oh, they moved the amulets then to Bloods, I think. Something happened, so Bloods have new stuff as well.
Fade says, at least they acted quick to change the excess of minerals coming into the game.
Oh god.
Yeah. So that 1,300 trillion is just that 2 year period, and there's 1.5 year more that my document isn't covering. So it's like probably like 2,000 trillion or something like that.
Oh my god.
That's I've never heard the number. Like, I've never really thought about it, but that's a mind-boggling amount of minerals. That you're talking.
Never heard that number before.
And you know what's screwed up is, that like there are way more supers being built every month than destroyed, most likely. Realistically, there most likely are. So I'm gonna move down the line. Squishy, dude. What do you think, dude? Fields and Fields of Rourke? I know do you have anything you want to add, or? Yeah, okay. And I think Toxic shared his as well. So I don't want to get too stuck on this. How long do you guys think CCP is gonna let it stick?
No.
4-4?
They're too much of a bunch of fucking pussies, dude.
Oh.
By next month this change will be back, dude. They'll buff the aura amounts.
I think they will. I think. Oh man.
Oh, hot take!
I don't know how to phrase this, because
just call them cowards, dude. It's fine.
One thing about, but like, I think after their mistake with
Blackout,
their mistake with Blackout, I think that the decisions that they're making from that point on are calculated, and the risk is assumed by the entire company and everything.
That's a good fucking joke, dude. I respect the joke, dude.
Listen, And so I think that the plan that they've laid forth is what they're actually going to follow. I don't think they're going to like try this out for 2 weeks and then revert it. I think that they actually laid out a 3-step plan and they're going to do that.
Yeah, the problem
That's
is
what I
they're implementing a 3-step plan.
What do you mean?
Step 1
They
is
need
just
it.
fuck over everything. Then step 2 is make things less fucked. And then step 3 is like what the game's supposed to be.
What?
But the problem is we now have to wait like 2 months for that step 3 plan to get
I
implemented.
know.
Well,
I'm
it's-
not saying it was a good plan. I'm saying that like I don't think they're going to revert it.
All right, Toxic. What do you have to say, man?
All I have to say is this: does anyone know whose idea from CCP this was? Shifty Eyes did. Anyone know?
I mean, I do, but I'm CSM.
Was that you?
What?
Was that a fucking Eve fan or like Eve London dude? Did you pull a knife on a fucking dev and were like, "Hey,
Whoa.
I'm 6 foot 3."
He didn't pay for the fucking part.
Dude.
I'm picturing that now, just Toxic fucking threatening CCP. Blade.
I think that realistically, I don't think there's any way to make this game back to a state that is, I feel like, better for everyone. Everyone, including
You
goons.
can't make the game better for everyone.
Without ruining, or maybe not even ruining, but making people unhappy in the short term. I don't think there's a way to do that. Out of all the changes, right? Everything looked like realistically, any like long-term changes were going to look like realistically in the short term. It upset some portion of the player base. That's just what it looked like to me.
I mean, I don't know. So when you ask to Empire builders, they're gonna tell you that CCP didn't work hard enough to create conflict and destruction. And if we have destruction, this game is fine. So resource side interventions wouldn't be necessary. We just need more ships dying.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's not a super uncompelling argument. Particularly the part where CCP didn't do enough to create conflict is extremely true, and we're doing our best to give them feedback, so they do create conflict. But so when you ask them, I think they'll say resource side interventions aren't necessary. When you ask me, I think they are necessary, but I think CCP even right now, I think it's a bit being overdone. I'm kind of worried about the second blackout as well. I mean, to some degree.
I don't think they'll bring the blackout.
No.
They'll implement it a completely different way.
I think he means like it'll be like a second blackout.
Blackout
had.
So they said, this is gonna be like a 3-phase plan, and first, there's scarcity, then there's something, and in the scarcity phase, which could last 2 to like 5 months or something, we could get enough damage to the game itself, which we are already blowing our only shot to get the resource side done. So it's like the more you grief the farmers, the more they're not going to have the infinite patience, right? So I would, if I was CCP, I would be more cautious about not bleeding players until you are able to allocate the entire dev time to fix the game in the way you want, which looks like right now it's like a band-aid. Let's just cut the resources first and then fix it in 3 months, but that 3 months might be just too much.
That's what I said. It's like it's gonna take them too long to implement this fucking change.
Yeah.
By the time they actually get to the point where it's implemented, all the people like the Rorq miners and the industrial players would have left already.
Yeah.
They literally need to do this change this month. Like, they need to complete it by the end of the month.
Yeah.
Imagine if they haven't completed this change by the fucking fan fest. They're gonna get destroyed there, dude.
Yeah, we'll see how much, I guess people will vote with their. I mean, we're already expecting. They say they want to fix like mining by making it less, a bit scarcer, or maybe like in my vision, you would target the multi-boxers and mass multi-boxers, right? Those are those you want to target to fix the economy by damaging the player base the least, right? But it's like no matter what you do, even if you remove all the bots today, for example, you will get some bleeding. So what CCP needs to do is like distinguish bad bleeding with good bleeding and decide when it's bad enough, which can be very tricky. They can just say, look, like we have less and less players, but then that's already what we planned for the short term. But we'll see. I mean, I'm not the one to drop my hopes. Many other players I talk to, particularly the Empire Builder side, they're much more pessimistic about all this. I'm not. I'm just cautious right now.
Yeah, I think.
See, I personally think these changes are definitely good for the game, but it's not good for the player numbers. Because this is the kind of thing. This is very similar to Blackout, dude, and it's going to make a lot of people unsub. Which, as we've seen with the Blackout, makes CCP change the way they do things.
I think for me, Blackout was a negative for these players, and the difference between this and Blackout is that instead this isn't a question of whether or not you're going to go out and get killed very easily. The safety of Rorks has been changed. What's been changed here is their effectiveness at doing their thing, and I think that's a way better way to go about fixing this. And I think it's way less drastic to do this than it is to do anything else. In my personal
I'm not quite sure. I would say I would always favor the risk side of like if you wanna. So say you wanna reduce faucets, you wanna reduce the amount of resources flooding to the game. If you do that by injecting risk to the activities, then at least you get some players enjoying the new meta and going around and trying to kill ships, and Sino changes, for example, have been great. But then if you do the reward side, then it's very hard to gain anything. I would say in my vision, the only needed reward side changes were changes which would limit max amount of players per umbrella. So per 6 light year range, I would limit the amount of players. So I wouldn't let an alliance of 40,000 people or 30,000 people live in the same umbrella. I would make them have to disperse. But then that's much more limited approach to the resources. What they are doing is like making Rorquals almost not viable at all. I'm very worried that there's just going to be no Rorqual pilot in the anomalies anymore. If there are, then we're lucky.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like there'll still be space for them. The real question is, indie dudes are real smart. Like, let's be realistic here. Nullsec guys are amazing at min-maxing. And I'm sure guys have already figured out what they can do with their Rorks, if they can do anything. And so we'll know in the coming days exactly what's going to happen. I personally find that... I don't know. I think for me, moving what could have been way worse was making the Rork like significantly easier to kill. Well, maybe that would have been better. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I definitely agree though with the fact we need more destruction in the game, and I'd like to see more of it. And I hope CCP does some stuff to fix that as well.
Rorks in general aren't that hard to kill. It's just the panic module that fucking makes them hard. Like,
so they are hard to kill.
Module, a Rork. Well, you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
It's tank. Not the Rork that's hard to kill. It's the panic that's hard to kill.
Yeah, I mean,
if a Rork didn't have a panic module, that would be so fucking garbage, dude.
By injecting risk, I didn't mean like injecting risk to, for example, single random Rorqual outside the umbrella. But I gave CCP particular suggestions. For example, what I would do is if like more than 3 Rorquals are in the same grid, 1,000 kilometers grid, the panic doesn't work anymore. So they have to disperse to different anomalies and
or maybe
potentially
you can't panic within range of another panic, like 100 kilometers.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, maybe that's still you can work around that, but you cannot work around that suggestion I had. Or like they get shorter and shorter. For example, fifth Rorqal, it's like half the time, and sixth Rorqal is like quarter of the time, and then eventually it's no panic at all. So those are the kind of changes which you can actually target them as multiboxers and then reduce the resource flood while keeping single Rorqals viable.
Make panic cost capacitor. I don't know if that would
That
matter.
would definitely be a good change.
Or make them remove the jamming, anti-jamming bonus in industry or something. We use jamming very effectively as well.
Min-max high-sec orcas versus null-sec barge mining. Is null miners going to high-sec good for PvP? I mean, null-sec's supposed to be dangerous. I think that's one of the things that I've heard pretty much across the board, is that people personally find that the game is very, very safe nowadays. And I kind of agree in a lot of ways, at least in null-sec, for certain groups of people. And it shouldn't be inherently as safe as it is. And that's not one person's fault. That's not anything like that. Players are very, very good at this game, and they're going to find ways to increase the safety threshold nearly as close to PvE as they can get it, if that makes sense. Like, because in most PvP situations, or PvE situations, you never lose.
I just thought of something really funny now. Like, they could use all those Rorq tunes. If they do what I said, where they just have a bunch of exhumers in a site, they'll just have like a bunch of cloaked Rorqs with just nothing but a panic fit to them. So they'll just decloak like 70 off and just fucking panic to chain panic to all the barges.
We can talk
you got
about
the tunes, right? So you might as well use them.
Jesus, man. Do you guys think so high-end hopes for this particular situation? I'll let Toxic go first since he hasn't spoken very much.
I'll keep it that way, my dude. Thanks, Wow.
All right, dude.
My hopes
404.
for this change is that they make barges great again, dude.
Make barges great again. 404.
I just hope that someone somewhere in CCP is focusing on what they're going to do to incentivize risk for large assets like supers and titans so as to reduce the hugely inflated numbers you see in the game today, because that is probably the biggest problem.
Dude, 404 for CSM, dude. Dude, 404 for CSM. Hello? Question mark, dude? That's what it sounded like, dude. Are you reading off a teleprompter, dude?
Announcing my candidacy for CSM campaign.
The biggest problem we have today.
Alright, Olmeca, high-end hopes for the situation. What do you hope comes out of it?
From the entire direction that CCP is taking, I hope that there remains no activity in the game where you make over 500 million per hour, which doesn't require any kind of skill, any kind of special skill set, any kind of innovation, any random line member with zero effort but enough money can do, like Rorqal multiboxing, right? So those are the activities I would hope to be gone for the long-term economic sustainability of the game. Meanwhile, I also hope CCP encourages like skillful, talented, careful, and those kind of players for farming, for high-end farming that's over 500 million. So if you take out a super, it's worth it, but you need to be careful. If you take out a Rorqal or 3, it's worth it, but you need to be careful. If you're not careful, you provide content to the rest of the game. So that's the overall vision I would hope that they realize.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely going to be super interesting. I know we were talking about kind of like the long-term effects of this and how it might affect it. How long? So based off your destruction, right? And you say we need 10 times the destruction to, if we were to match the level of production before. We'll get production numbers in the 2 months, like more accurate ones. How long do you guys think it's going to take for us to get back, or rather get to a place to where destruction is at a more healthy place as compared to production?
So when do we think?
How long do you think it would take?
I don't know how long it would take. How long I reckon it should. They need before FanFest, dude. That's when they need to do this shit, dude. Honestly, like they can't hold the fucking phone on this, dude. They need to pick it up and answer it, dude. They need to be super quick with these changes right now.
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment, they're literally doing like 1 month every patch.
Hey, it's better
still
than it
technically
was, dude.
fast for CCP, but it's not fast enough.
Oh man, it might not be fast enough.
I mean, with the resource side, they need to. There's so much work to be done. They need to rework anomalies, rework response, ADMs, all those things. It's not like Talos scale changes where they do like. I wish there were Talos scale changes they could do to fix this, but there's none. They need to rework the entire thing. So to do that, they need a lot of time. So I don't think it's gonna happen soon. But when do we hit a healthier equilibrium between production and destruction? Well, I don't know. I mean, there's like 1 to 2 trillion destruction every month in Eve, and there has been 50 trillion production, like mining. But I mean, it's gonna be lower. I think it's lower now. Like this month, for example, it should be 30ish or something. But still, 30 to 2 trillion, it's a lot of gap. There will always be a gap. Probably like maybe 10 to 2 is good. But also we will really seriously need some ways to incentivize destruction as well. Right now, offending space, attacking people is so hard. It's like so until we get conflict drivers, we won't fix the destruction side. And if we don't, then all of this means nothing. They need to fix both sides, both the resources and both the mining and the destruction. So ideally, we would have like something like 10 trillion each month coming into the game, and 5 trillion dying, something like that. And then the rest is accounted for leaving players and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope we get to see it fixed, especially the long-term stuff, and get it back to a place that's happy. Which I guess we can talk about this a little bit, Omeka. So now that they're doing things to hopefully fix parts of the resource games, do you have much of an opinion on how they could put in more conflict drivers to generate these kinds of content and destruction that we want to see? Like the days of like hardcore line members that have a really strong alliance or coalition identity, and like really go to the like gear to fight other people is kind of, I'd say, sort of gone. Most people are a little more tepid, I would say, and so we're not going to find that being driven from a bottom scale potentially. So what do you think that from the bottom of the platform potentially, what do you think could potentially be implemented or changed?
Well, I think they should make offending space easier, even though the strongest coalition in the game is goons, and they might steamroll everyone. I'd rather goons winning by steamrolling people rather than just turtling and gathering resources. So, and I think capitals. A lot of people complain about capitals, but I think what needs to happen is capitals needs to be harder to use in daily warfare, like umbrellas, like defending your space or counter dropping a random 10-man small gang. In the meanwhile, they need to be easier to move across the galaxy and offend someone's home and attack someone's home. So it's like I would make them easier to attack with, easier to conduct soul warfare with, and harder to conduct umbrella warfare with. And those two changes might be like, I don't know. Yeah. At this point, Goons have too many assets. Maybe it's going to be like their dominance or for a while at least. But I'd rather see Goons dominate that way rather than just crabbing.
Double all jump ranges, double all fatigue timers, dude.
If you double jump ranges, you're going to double the umbrella too. So it's like, I don't know. It's weird. The implementation, you need to think about it. It's not easy to.
Yeah.
Nothing is. Like, no idea is very easy to implement. You need to very careful think about everything, which is a challenge against CCP too.
Definitely interesting. I hope.
But for example, here's the core idea that I want to mention. I want people to just take one weekend and still be able to conduct a BTEC R level fight. Right now, you need to create timers. You need to bring your Titan as a line member or super, and then commit to it. Commit it for 1 week or so. There are different move times and move ups and so on and so forth. It's like for example, you're going next week, so you cannot join, or you weren't here during the move up, so you cannot join. It's an entire thing. I want that to become a weekend thing, and for that. It's like you're gonna have to change timers, so actually you can kill a Citadel in the weekend. But then that's OP too. So it's like, what about the defender? And I have several ideas. It's like I would make basically armor timer a subcap affair, like an instant subcap affair, rather than super caps. Super caps should do the hull, and the subcaps should offend maybe like even like a 10 versus 10. I would do a tournament for a armor timer. But these are like two radical ideas.
Dude, a tournament for an armor timer? Dude, can you imagine the publicity you could get, CCP could get people into with that stuff? If they just had the new UFC TV people on that, and then they just had these 10v10s? Dude, people would lose their mind, dude.
Here's my vision. Imagine like you create you offend the shield, nobody comes, right? Because it's like it's very hard for people to form for a shield. So, and then you get a token or something, and then you can use that token to go in an instant environment. If it's a Keepstar, it's like 80 people versus 80. If it's like a Fortizar, it's like 30 versus 30. And it's only subcaps, right?
Instance PvP would kill this game so fast.
Yeah. So people are very, very conservative about that, but I'm not. I'm very open about it.
When they announced Abyssals, I didn't like that either, because it's instance PvE where you can't really get, like, the only thing you can do is just sit on the outside and wait for them to come out.
I mean, part of the problem of EVE Online is time to content, right? So realistically, this would get people going. You wouldn't have to travel far. More destruction would happen. You would get more people involved with PvP, even line members, and you could still get FCs involved. The only major downside is Wangs can't show up with a super cap fleet, and you can't bat phone them in, which means you would have to have capable pilots.
Fuck all these changes, dude. Just bring back Filament's fucking easy fix. Alright? For fuck's sake, dude. God damn.
Oh man, dude. Oh, man, the filaments were so good. We keep bringing them up, man, but can we just get them back, CCP, please? Jesus H. Did we actually see an increase in the destruction levels during the filaments implementation in PvP? It felt like we did. It felt like I saw more people out doing stuff.
Dude, there was so many more people actually PvPing.
Definitely felt like it.
I know there's a lot of people live streaming it as well. There's a lot more streamers during that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have to get dicked on like 404 did the other day when he went to like, he went out 4 ships, 3 of them died to gate camps.
Yeah.
And it's just like, fucking Jesus.
Yeah, and he could have just jumped in towards TK and got lanced really quick, and then he wouldn't have been as mad.
Exactly. That's the thing. I mean, that's the thing. And I think I said this last time, and I say this all the time when we're chilling. Like, it's not like, and because that's what some people think, or the few arguments I've heard against filaments are people are like, what? Okay, so it permits you to just go warp to a random system and just get easy frags and stuff. And I'm like, no. I probably died more than I die now.
Oh fuck
like,
yeah, I did.
I just got fucking mobbed in other places, but it was rapid fire action. the arguments against it are from people who are afraid to lose ships in this game and don't understand that losing ships is fine as long as you can keep your morale high by reshipping faster and getting back to the content. Dying somewhere after 30 jumps is just compounded by having to reship and then make those 30 jumps again.
No.
I would say the filaments actually made the B team in general less salty as well.
Oh,
Because
for sure.
like all the jumping, right, and you being in that fucking ship for ages, just kind of like the ship, or you just kind of get used to where the fuck you are. But with the filaments, it was more so like using the fucking ships as ammo, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you just undock from
Yeah.
Jita, fucking teleport, die, come back. This it was so fun, dude.
Yeah, you'd be
Yeah.
salty, and then you'd be like, "Fuck it, let's roll the
Yeah,
dice
we got
again."
15 minutes, dude. Grab yourself a drink. We're
The
going
Yeah.
the
again.
go
Oh, fuck,
next
1v2
mentality, dude.
again.
The go next mentality was way easier to have.
Go
Yeah.
again.
I think the biggest problem I had with it was that I couldn't use them faster. That was
Yeah.
kind of annoying. I would like to
Oh, yeah.
see that, like, one of the ways,
Have their own separate timer.
one of the interesting things they could have done is like
Yeah.
a timer that resets, that is like, so you can't use a filament, or you have like a long-term filament, but if you die you get a quick filament or something. It'd be super interesting.
They just need to not give you the capsulated log of time. It needs to give you something else.
Yeah, like
But the
a
problem
simple
is if
fucking filament time or something.
they'd have to put so much extra work to do that. Because like you gotta remember, like if you get shot, you can't just have people like filamenting out
Yeah.
while they're like in the middle of combat.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the guy dropped point for 2 seconds, then we just filament out of it. I think we lost Olmeca.
Karen
Dude,
died.
look at this. It looks like I'm looking into Olmeca's
Are you
frame.
still here though,
There it is.
Olmeca?
Look at that.
Yo, dude.
Watch.
You okay over there, dude? Hello?
What the fuck?
Is every Rourke now in Suicide Watch? I don't know, maybe. Is Olmeca
I think
okay, dude?
Olmeca's getting DDoS, dude.
Dude, the fucking
Yeah, dude.
goons are
Getting
at it
on,
again,
and
dude.
fucking Olmeca, dude.
Damn, dude,
Damn it,
feels
dude.
bad.
Full pilot's fucking pissed, dude.
They're
Yeah, Sword
angry,
Dragon
dude.
just cut his internet.
So I guess we
Destroyed.
could also talk about the.
Oh, now it's all fucked. Everyone's fucked.
He's back.
Oh, is he back?
He's not back. Just don't worry about the cam on Mecha, dude. If you can just get your mic on, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if your mic is in the camera.
It's in the camera, but it'll be fine. I'm not worried about it.
Microphone.
Can microphone? Can you use
Cam-
big voice?
Cam
So what do you guys
microphone.
think about the new inventory notification system?
I fucking hate it, dude.
Uh,
so fucking annoying, dude. So, oh, I looted this guy's capu, so let me just hear this noise and a
Ding,
fucking
ding,
big
ding,
red bar on my
ding.
thing, dude.
Hot
It's so fucking stupid.
jokes on you for looting.
Fucking
Jokes on-
Aof's been yelling at me, dude, because he salvages a lot. So every time he salvages a wreck, it's like bing, bing, bing.
Oh my god.
Alright, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see you.
Yeah.
Welcome
Okay,
back.
I just- Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what's happening.
Well, times CCP adds features. Don't know if you guys could hear the air quotations there. That you
Yeah.
can't then optionally disable, dude. It's just so annoying, dude. Who asked for this?
I don't know. I wonder that sometimes about some of the changes also. Like
Like they seem to add things for new bros.
I
Like,
think
a
they're
new
just
player might not know they've looted something or whatever. But most of the people
Yeah.
playing this game aren't new bros, so give us the option to disable it, dude.
I think they're just like looking at the industry best practices and then thinking, oh, this is like what every other game does, so we should do it as
Yeah. Sometimes I feel
I
like
don't
they
get
just have
it.
that sort of
Most-
conversation when they're getting like a beer or something. And they're like, oh no, that'd be sick. Like think about the new player experience though. If it gave a notification, they're like, that'd be great, do that. We're more like a real game now. And everyone's like, yo, no one ever came to play Eve because they thought it'd be an easy ride.
What? This game's not easy? Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Shit, dude. I'm out. Sorry.
I don't
That's
care
the
that they
reason
added
this
this
game's fucking
change. They just
easy,
need to
yeah.
give you the option to disable it. It's like when they added that war deck thing. Stupid little box at the top that lowers all your fucking overview stuff down. Like, why can't I get rid of that? That's been like there for like so long now. Don't want. I know I'm at war. I'm not like a pleb, dude. I know when I'm at war with people.
All
Can you
right.
just let me get rid of it?
That's part of the general safeization, though, of Eve. You know, it's much less a sink or swim game than I think it's probably a safer game than it's ever been before. Something that I kept thinking of while we were talking about the other stuff also is like every single change they've made in the last couple of years is like just makes it so safe for
Yeah.
people.
Speaking of safe, what about those new Logi implants?
Dude, this came out last time, and we were all just like, "Well, fuck." I mean, that's like
Yeah, but
that's.
they're actually out now.
I mean,
Shit, dude, the Tamagate camp is gonna be harder to break.
It's
oh
gonna.
man,
It's
Twix.
like another one of those things nobody asked for.
Yeah.
Yeah, like nobody asked for
It
shield
seems like
slaves,
they
but we
was
got them
ticking
anyways.
boxes at this point. They've got like
Oh,
implants
people
for
were
everything.
asking for shield slaves for long.
Yeah. it was
Okay.
like-
I keep saying CSM is like 5% or 10% metagame. The rest is fine, but there's that 10%, and some of it is just.
Hmm.
I would
Test,
attribute to
test,
shield-
what, dude?
shield
Test
slave.
played the long game, dude. I'm just saying, dude.
Am I right?
What do you? So, fuck. We're all fucked now, dude. 300 million EHP Komodos sound fucking solid to me, dude. That's easy frags. How much DPS do you actually need on grid? Like, how many dreads is that to even just like get it to a point to where you
break
can
the
just
passive tank.
to just break the ship, dude?
A lot.
It's got so
You're not
much
gonna be
buffer.
using dreads to kill a Komodo. You're gonna be using Titan Doomsdays.
How many?
You're gonna get like 30 avatars to be like, all right, 3, 2, 1, fucking shoot that bastard, dude. And you're gonna see like 40 fucking avatars charging their laser at the same time. It's like
Shit.
the only way to kill one, dude.
Fuck.
Well, thank
Because you
God
just
there's a lot of
alpha.
thank God there's a lot of avatars in the game too. So.
Exactly. I mean,
Um,
that's how that last one in test died. He got fucking volleyed by like 50 Titans, I think.
Fuck.
shit, dude.
I mean, so the capital EHP is something that's been on the CCP's radar for so long. So I wouldn't lose hope in that.
I'm not gonna continue touching that. That means, though, guys, we've been talking for a long time, and it's time for one of our favorite sections of the week, where our good friend Squishy has brought us a kill mail for us to react to for the first time. Squishy, if you don't mind posting that in Discord and in the Twitch chat.
Hang on. I've got to do a bit of a backstory here.
Oh, is that
This isn't just the
uh,
kill mail. This has my little predicted story. Alright, I'm gonna link the
is
first
that the
part.
Fanny dude? What the fuck?
Take a look
is
at that
Gila?
Gila. This isn't the kill mail, dude. Are you looking at the Gila?
Alright, hold on. Let me pull it up on stream. Alright,
Looking at the Gila, dude.
looking at the Gila.
It's just a normal Gila that died to a
Wait,
blob
what
struck.
died?
Alright,
Oh.
now I'm gonna link the second part.
Oh!
Where
Oh!
the guy lost his bridging blobs to the rats that he jumped in.
Holy shit,
Well,
dude.
what's
we
with the
were
cargo?
expanders.
It's a bridging blobs that I guess he jumped in to bridge the Loki out, and then he got caught by the rats and killed. 'Cause it hurts the Loki.
That's sad.
Oh,
No,
that
my
feels
God, what a
bad, dude.
dumbass.
That's sad. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the ship. It's just
Yeah, but it's still funny because the Gila horde on it.
he probably
It's
he
solo
probably
kill,
like,
dude.
but it's a solo dude like that bridges himself,
That's awesome.
tackles, bridges himself, and also jumps after the bridge, and then
Yeah.
he just sometimes you don't normally like it's typically unlikely you get tackled by the rats, and I guess this happened to this dude,
Mhm.
so it's
That's
kind of
funny.
unfortunate.
That's awesome.
I
Alright.
just saw it on CQ on 4.
And he died really fast too.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
It didn't take
It
too much
has no
damage.
tank at all.
16K, that's crazy.
So
It's
I
got
bet
2
this guy is like, dropping
What
on
he
the
got?
target,
Yeah.
but also didn't want to waste the Sino, so let me just drop my bridge as well. Maybe I'll mute it a bit, and then suddenly rats turned on him and he died.
Wait,
Well, I mean, he
though-
actually got on the Gila with his drones, so the rats probably instantly switched to him, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll just warp out before I die." And then I think once the Gila died, the rats probably switched to him, pointed him,
They don't.
and then he tried to MJD out, but he was already dead before he could.
Oh yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Is
he
like
did,
getting MJD.
He did like 50% of the damage to the Gila.
Yeah, in all
Ignore the
honesty,
rat damage.
I would be really, I wouldn't be too hard on this guy. The solo blocks is already almost dead. It's almost dead. Nobody does this shit anymore. It should be encouraged, I think.
It's pretty funny though.
No, that's a good one. So this is the last part of the show. We've been talking for around an hour, and I don't want to keep everybody for too long tonight. I appreciate you guys coming out though. It's been pretty popping in chat, and I know you guys have questions in chat. Please, guys, go ahead and send us your questions. We're gonna try and answer them as best we can. And of course, Omeka's here, so he'll hopefully answer some questions. Then we'll be pretty much done.
Is this the part where we get no questions?
This happens very often. We just don't get any questions. Yes, people generally.
People are asking shit the whole time.
Dude, somebody highlighted a message. I should probably check the highlighted message
there we
got
go.
earlier.
There's one.
Don't these moon changes?
Well, of course it's vague, dude, because CCP doesn't actually know what they're changing until they release the patch.
Yeah.
They announced like the wormhole changes. Are like, hey, there's going to be some changes to spawn rates. We'll let you know before the patch comes out. And then they let us know when the patch was out. They literally released the fucking patch notes with the patch.
I mean, I checked some other games. Because this criticism comes a lot, but it's not like other games are too different as well. It's just in E we are too used to the things that work. We are too invested in the mechanics, right? And sometimes it's like it's annoying when you don't know about it. There's some changes come, but it's like when you look at Dota or WoW or something, it's not so different. They don't announce like very detailed changes. They do some kind of trailer or something, but they don't announce detailed changes before the patch.
Why don't you have stuff? Why don't you have shit under your picks? I fucked that up. I reset my computer, and this was as fast as I could throw together this, and we were missing some stuff. I'm sorry. Shoop asks, what's the 404 CSM elevator pitch? 404, 30 seconds. Go. CSM pitch.
If you invest your trust in me, then I will hand delete every ECM module and drone and ship in the entire game.
Dude, you're applying for CSM, not game development.
That's my pitch for both.
Alright, that's...
It's like that guy that was talking to me when I was doing that fucking corn fleet. I can't remember his fucking name. He was basically saying like how he wants to get on CSM, and then once he's on CSM was a bunch of idiots and would listen to him. And he wanted to change Sinos so you could only light a Sino with a dread. And I was like, what are you actually talking about right now? He's like, oh yeah, I'd join CSM and then I'd pitch them these ideas and they'd get implemented because CCP just listened to everything I'd say. And I'm like, I think you overestimate the power you have.
Clint Beastwood asks, why didn't CCP just adjust the mining amount of the Rorq or general functions like compressing? I am going to say...
It doesn't matter, dude.
Because
there's infinite resources in nullsec, and they would just go from belt to belt to belt to belt.
Mm-hmm. So
basically, CCP reduced the yield before, but then that caused people to just get more wells, and that's how
they had to do something to cap the usefulness of it, and this also forces people to spread out more in some ways.
This is going to reduce the amount of Rorqs in one system and in one site, which is good.
Yeah. Plus, it just makes sense for it just makes it's logical mechanically. I mean, even if you're looking at the premise of the game, where we're people in space, and the infinite, I mean, just the infinite respawning, like rat dens and shit, are fucking crazy. And so I like the fact that they're giving some attention to this infinite resource regen element of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I find it kind of cunning though. Like they go after ore per rock and say not they don't go after respawns, because if you reduce respawns to the same degree, then it's going to be much more visible. So now you have this bunch of anomalies, but they're very. But also, yeah, I get it, because they also want protocols and people to warp from system to system or anomaly to anomaly. They don't want people sitting for hours in a single system doing nothing but mining and that kind of no movement at all. That's what CCP doesn't like anymore.
Didn't they also nerf the respawn times with this patch? Or am I mistaken?
I think it says there's some adjustments, but nobody checked them probably because nobody does the anomalies anymore.
No one's mining probably. Then
I just swept 45 systems in Dell. There were like 3 Rorquals on anomalies and maybe 15 on moons, and that's it.
All right, we're only gonna take 1 or 2 more questions. Nasus asks if they're taking away minerals from moons, that would mean wormholes lose a lot of value. I just don't get how that would balance moons for how they would balance moons for wormholes.
Are they changing wormhole moons?
No, they're not changing wormhole moons. They're not changing.
Good then.
So
they're changing moons though. They didn't say which moons. They didn't say high sec or null sec.
Well, they specifically said that they're removing all non-moon ores from high sec moons.
Yeah. So they don't want so they just create a scarcity for nullsec, for normal ore, right? They don't want these ore to exist in moon rocks, so players can just circumvent the change. So that's what they don't want. And the wormhole moons are kind of like in this in between spot. If you remove them, then you remove wormhole moons, because there is no other value in wormholes, right? And that's certainly brought to CCP's attention. I don't know what's going to happen with that.
All right. Eptis asks, why does everyone think less generation means more PvP? That's not what that's not what the point of that is. Less ISK generation means that it's easier to catch up with PvP. Technically, with the stockpiles of ore, I doubt you're going to see any massive changes in prices today, per se.
No. You might see it pretty soon, because people are going to be preemptively ramping up the prices.
But, however, that is correctable just through market mechanics. Like, people, if the prices of subcapitals and modules increase, then people are more inclined to manufacture those, which then puts more into the market, which then will ultimately drive the price down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the talking point of the empire builders. You get less minerals, then you get less Rorquals, then you get less things to shoot at, and it's like very direct or non-nuanced way of looking at it. First of all, as hunters, for example, I do non-consensual PvP under umbrellas. If you get all these Rorquals, then I have bigger umbrellas to worry about. So imagine like all 5 umbrellas: Winterco, Panfam, Test, proliferating as much as goons. That's what I don't want. I don't want that. Yeah. Secondly, these people forget, like when for example, in my fleet, when I roll into Delve with 200 or 150 people, it really doesn't matter for me if there's like 20 supers and 100 Rorquals out and about, or there's like 5 supers and 10 Rorquals out and about, because the moment I do 1 or 2 drops or 3 drops, they will dock anyway. So it's not like I have time to kill each one of them. So therefore, as long as there's some people out and about, I don't expect too much difference for me and my ability of getting my fleets to shoot at things. So it's like when you look at it in a nuanced way, it's not so super bad for hunters either. But that's the empire builder talking point, because they fail to catch the nuance.
Okay, so this is so a lot of people are complaining some things. So the reason why we're saying that it's not going to instantly change prices like this is because there's huge stockpiles of ore all around nullsec and probably around highsec too.
Well, I imagine prices probably have changed already. But
yeah, I'm sure not by enough to warrant insanity, right? Especially when you're looking at things like prices have instantly changed. How much did they go up by?
I mean, there's always going to be some patch speculation, but the equilibrium, yeah, I think there's a good 4 or 5 years for that, because we just talked about earlier. Maybe the viewers weren't here. Last 3 years, there were like 2,000 trillion of minerals that have been farmed. So that's not going to go away in an instant.
Nope. So, Rafe, I never said everyone is goons, and nobody just said that. So please, I'm gonna start banning people who say that in chat. We're not talking about goons. We're talking about all of
Why would
nullsec.
ethanol prices go up? Surely there's gonna be less
Yeah,
demand.
1,500, dude. I don't know. Well, no, because moons depends on how they end up getting used in nullsec, because they're not really changing them too much in nullsec, right?
Yeah, they're changing all of them. There's not gonna be any.
Very few people have stockpiles of minerals, dude. Look at just the stockpiles of ships we have, dude.
Fucking like all of nullsec has stockpiles of minerals, dude. I'm actually looking at a contract right now, which is 6.5 billion worth of minerals.
Yeah, and I'd be curious to see that 15% change is probably due less to the fact that there are actually less minerals, and probably more due to the fact that people are just trying to get ahead on prices. I'm an only CEO.
If anything, what's gonna happen?
I
is
speak
people are
to-
gonna buy all the minerals before the change. Like people
I
are gonna
speak to-
stockpile and start.
I speak to people like Arith all the time, and they brag a lot about how much stockpile of minerals they have.
Dude,
so...
and if they're lying, well, fuck them, dude. That's their own fault,
Yeah.
dude. I don't think CCP would make this change and be like, yeah, we're gonna fuck the markets and everything like this. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are complete idiots.
I mean,
We'll see. I mean, it's kind of like the moment I came back from the first summit, it was like this game could either it could go to shit or it could also improve. I didn't. I mean, it doesn't feel different right now. So it's like there are pathways to improvement and also to destruction of the game. And with this being said, in 20 days we have the second summit. So wish me luck.
I wish you the best luck. And we're going to take one last question from the chat, and then we'll be saying our goodbyes. I thank you so much for coming on, Omega. It's been a real pleasure. As always, it is. Whenever I talk to you, you've got a very interesting and pretty well informed opinion of the game. Squishy just likes to
Thanks for
scream at the
having me.
top of his lungs, so it's a nice change, dude.
Yeah, no, this show is much milder compared to say
TIS.
Or open
No,
comms, dude.
open comms. When we talk about screaming people, it's like, yeah.
Dude, I've seen some of the times you've been on there, and like Dirk gets you can tell when Dirk's getting a little too hammered, dude. He just gets crazy, dude. What about Toxic? Is he still alive? He's alive.
Toxic things said like free.
Overall, do you think the game is trending towards destruction or success?
What do you mean? The game's been trending toward destruction for like the past 5 years. Dude. It's literally on life support, dude. And CCP's like.
But at the same time, though, it's almost like Eve is sort of comfortable in a weird way on life support.
Yeah,
it's Stockholm syndrome, dude.
But because it's relying on people's sunk cost fallacy. That's it.
Exactly. They've spent so much money on this game.
And unique gameplay model.
And to answer the question, I feel like I was 50-50 before. After this change and kind of recent attitudes, I'm kind of like 60-40. I think there's more chance of failure right now. So think of that what you will. I have like the insider's opinion. So it's like I get more and more ideas about how teams work in CCP and how they handle things, and they're taking a huge risk right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, they are taking.
I'd rather see them take a huge risk than the constant sort of small drip of like changes in which they try and please everybody at the same time, though. Like,
no, I'd rather a middle ground approach. Basically, I wouldn't like. Yeah, I wouldn't. If I was CCP, I would balance nullsec risk reward in a big patch. Where, for example, I wouldn't do blackout.
Yeah.
I would do like modify local, but give it enough dev time. You know, I wouldn't say, look, let's try blackout. What's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is like you lose 10% of your player base, which is not a lot to begin with.
The change I've seen floating around that I think is a really good idea is that you don't show up in local while you're holding gate cloak. So that 60-second period where you've jumped in and you're like cloaked up, you shouldn't show up in local during that.
I would go a bit more drastic, like a ship class that is immune to local and also that can freeze local. So it's the only job of that class. It freezes.
That would be super interesting. All right, guys. I think that's about enough talk for tonight. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me tonight. Toxic 404, Olmeca, Squishy, dude. I think Toxic's actually asleep. We're gonna go ahead end the stream here, though, guys. 404, you going live?
Yeah.
404 is gonna go live. We're gonna throw the host over to him next. I want to thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. We'll be back next Tuesday again. I think we're having Insidious Sainthood on from RVB. Thank you guys so much for coming and chilling out with us today. We'll chat with you guys next time. Don't do anything fucking too spooky.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers, bud. And 4 black and white.
Wasted, dude. Oh man, is that what dude, thanks for coming, dude. Appreciate all your comments you gave us that.